Hello again, and welcome back to Educator.com's Introduction to PHP course. In today's lesson, we're going to be covering the topic of nested conditional control structures. So specifically, we're going to be learning about what a nested conditional control structure is and how to use it. We're going to talk about coding conventions as they apply to nested control structures. And then we're also going to go over how to debug control structures. Conditional control structures, especially once nesting gets involved. As you'll see, they can become quite complicated. So we're going to provide some debugging tips for you. Basically, nesting control structures means that within the statement group of one conditional control structure, you include another conditional control structure. So for example, if we have an if statement with its test condition and then its opening brace, these opening and closing braces define the statement group of that if statement. Well, within this if statement, we've actually included another conditional control structure, another if statement. And then actually within this if statement, we've included another conditional control structure, this statement. And these actually should be indented one further. And so what you can see is that you can, in PHP, there's no limit to the number of levels, how deep you can nest control structures. And what it allows you to do is to achieve fine-grained control over the conditional execution of conditional segments of your code. So for example, maybe you have a section of code that you want to run if someone's a female, their age is over 25, and they're over 60 inches tall. In this case, the code we'd execute would be you are a female over age 25 over 5 feet tall. Using nested if control structures like this allows you to achieve sort of that fine-grained control to only execute code based on if multiple conditions are met. So let's actually go and take a look at a function or a script we've created called nested.php. And basically what it does is, before I get into this stuff here at the top, let's look at the code for it. Basically, it takes two get parameters, one called function and one called arg. Function can take on one of three different values: date, to upper, or to lower. And what that's going to correspond to is the date function, the string to upper function, and the string to lower function, which we learned about. Arg is going to refer to an argument that you would pass to these functions. So basically, in our script, by passing a function, the function name by the function get variable, and the function argument by the arg get variable, what we can do is set up our code so that it'll run the specified function on the argument that was requested. So the first thing we do is we actually, using the ternary operator, we create short versions of our get variables. We're called one function and one arg. Function, again, is the name of the function, and arg is the argument we'll be passing to it. Then we have a couple of nested control structures. So the first test we do is we test if function was not equal to null. So that's saying, was function provided as a get variable? If that's true, then we go ahead and proceed into that if statement. If not, we're going to output a message and say no function was selected. Now once we get in here, we perform another test with an if statement. Is argument not equal to null? So if function wasn't equal to null, but argument was, then we're going to output a message that says no function argument was provided. If not, we're going to go ahead and enter the if statement group. Within this if statement group, which we enter if function is not null and arg is not null, what we have is a switch statement. And it evaluates, or it runs over the variable function, which is the name of the function passed in. And what it does is it compares that name to each of these three different cases: date, to upper, and to lower. If it matches any of those cases, what it's going to do is it's going to run that corresponding function with the arg, or the argument that was passed in via get. And if a function was passed in, an argument was passed in, but the function name is not one of these four, it's not one of the ones recognized, then it's going to, by default, its default case is going to output a message that says invalid function was requested. So what I have up here is a form I've created that uses the get method, and it makes basically testing these out a little bit easier. And you can see that it has the three functions selected for which this code can process. If we actually look at the source code for this, we can see that this select drop-down box has three options whose values are date, to upper and to lower, which match those cases in our switch statement. So if I select date and then I pass an argument to it, and we know the date function basically outputs a formatted date, and it does so based on a formatting string we provide to it. And so I want to output the month, or the day, the month, and the year. One way to do that is with the characters J and Y. And if we go ahead and click the call the function button, we can see that it outputs the current date, June 27, 2011. Likewise, if we do string to upper and we pass it a lowercase string and we call the function, the results we get is lower. It's turned to all uppercase. Now if we use the string to lower function and we put an uppercase function, or an uppercase string, and we call it, it's going to convert it to lowercase. So as you can see, by passing in the function name and an argument value, and then using these set of nested control structures, here we have a switch statement nested within an if statement, nested within another if statement. And basically what we do is we compare one of the get variables, in this case function, to a bunch of different cases, and then we use the other argument, the other get variable passed in, to go ahead and run a function based off of that. So that's sort of how you can make use of nested conditional control structures.